The following broadcast is brought to you by Public House Media.
Listener discretion is advised. Today's content depicts a story with description of varying forms of abuse of a child. May not be suitable for children. Resilient, overcomer, motivational. These words describe the speakers you will hear, as this podcast is filled with real stories of people on the journey with you. They have been through hardships, obstacles, or setbacks, and want to encourage you that you are not alone. Their motivational stories and life lessons remind us that beauty can show itself in the darkest times, and we can step out in boldness to let our story impact others. I'm your host, Liz Colburn, and today's guest has a motivational mantra to share with you.
And in time this too shall pass.
Today's motivational mantras is brought to you by Sabrina Kinsey. She's going to walk us through a very difficult childhood path that she had for her life. And I know that you listened to my description at the beginning of this podcast. But again, I just want to remind you that if you have children nearby, if you're worried about them hearing descriptions of varying forms of abuse of a child, please make sure that you don't have them listen to the rest of this content. I'm so glad you're here. I hope that this story impacts you as much as it's impacted me. I'm already getting teared up thinking about it, but I want to give her introduction justice. Sabrina is 25 years old. She is from La Crosse, Wisconsin. She has a full-time job, which is very new for her, and you're going to hear later just how amazing that really is. She enjoys nights in. Her favorite shows are Friends and Grey's Anatomy. I'm a huge Grey's Anatomy fan, so I definitely second that. She loves wine, reading, or having quiet nights out with friends. Here is her story.
When I was in 5th grade, me, my mom, my sister, and my stepdad moved down to Florida from Michigan, and things very quickly began to fall apart. My sister got pregnant and moved out. My mom and stepdad were drinking a lot and fighting a lot, and eventually he left and moved back to Michigan. My mom had met a man through work, and I adored him. He was friends with both my parents, but he started to come around a lot after my stepdad left. He was funny and kind. He had a personality that just made you want to be near him. After some time, they fell in love, and we moved out to his place in the middle of nowhere. Just him, my mom, and me. One day, he snapped, and he started beating up on my mom. It was terrifying, but it stopped pretty quickly. The next day, he was totally normal. He was his usual chipper, charismatic self. But my mom made me go into my room and not come out, so I did. She seemed to know what was about to happen, and sure enough, he snapped again. But this time, it was much worse. He cut the power, and he beat me and my mom for hours, though my mom got it way worse. I don't think I could ever forget the sound of her screaming and crying as he hit and kicked her. I don't think I could ever forget her face after he finished.
Sabrina uses the word love at the beginning, and that just pains my heart because she is a child that was very confused about love. She uses love in the same sentence as she talks about this laundry list of different ways that this man abused her and her mom. And love is used in such an inappropriate way here. And this just pains my heart, as you're probably already pained listening to this, as you probably can already predict how this love is going to be shown in different forms throughout Sabrina's life, running for that love that she thought that she had to earn. And she's going to talk a little bit more about this story and how it unfolded in her life. We're about to hear Sabrina use a different word. Instead of love, she's going to consider herself lucky that she made it out after the sequence of events that happened with this man.
We were were lucky that night, though, and after a couple hours, he calmed down, and we had the chance to run to the neighbors and escape. But even though we got away that night, we went back a couple days later. The next year and a half played out like that. He beat us, and we ran away. Then we'd go back, and it would happen all over again. I could never understand why my mom kept taking us back. She always seemed kind of confused and kept telling me that he wasn't hurting us. I don't know, maybe that was the beginning of her brain tumor. But I was never angry with her. Some people were angry and they thought that she should have gotten us out a lot earlier, but I never blamed her, and I never will. Anyways, toward the end of the whole situation, we were living in a tent, the three of us, and a hurricane was coming, so some guy let us take shelter in his garage, and that's where we were living when he snapped again. We ran away again, and we were staying with my sister's boyfriend's family when he found us. My mom told me to hide in the house, and she told him that I was at school, so he took just her, and he was claiming that he was going to let her get our stuff. His mom was in the car, so it seemed like it would be okay. But when they got to the garage, his mom left, and he beat my mom, re-breaking her already broken arm. My sister, her boyfriend, and some lady from county went out to get my mom, and he did not want to let her go. But eventually they got her out of there with threats to call the police. They took my mom to the hospital, picked me up, and a couple hours later, my sister and my mom and me, we were all on a Greyhound bus to Wisconsin.
People who abuse think they own that person and that person's property. Sabrina just talked about the fact that he would not let her mom go back to get her things, and when she did, he wanted to keep her there. That's significant, and Sabrina's story is highlighting a bunch of stories that I've heard, and it's just so painful that people think that they have the power over another person's life to keep them, withhold them from things, physically harm them, neglect them. And it just is so painful that it is so relevant. And I think that Sabrina is so bold to put this into perspective. She's a child that is using her voice now that she's an adult. And that is so inspiring. I hope you feel so proud of her like I do, because as a child, we have a hard time sometimes vocalizing the things that are going on with us. We're not even fully transformed in our brain enough to understand how those puzzle pieces fit together. But as an adult, she is standing firm in what she has gone through and just talking about it. That is so painful for so many people. So thank you so much, Sabrina, for just being a vessel, being able to be used in this way to impact others. She's going to continue on and talk about how this type of abuse and this confusion about love really had her struggling through her teenage years. And what I wanted to highlight before she goes into her teenage years is this is the time that Sabrina and I became friends. So Sabrina and I met in high school, and the information she's about to share, I had to listen to as I was preparing for my segments. And whew, man, what an emotional roller coaster for me, being a friend of hers and knowing her during this time. And when I say friends, we were pretty inseparable for a while. And when I invited her on to share this with me, I don't know her entire full story, but I knew bits and pieces. And I definitely know that her and I were given our share of garbage by the time we met each other. So I'm so proud of her for being strong in this moment. What you're about to hear may be also hard to hear for many of you. And so I just want you to sit back. I want you to reflect on this part of her story, knowing that a lot of teenagers are struggling in this way. And I'm so proud of her for highlighting this. And then just get ready, because after this, a lot of beauty comes from it.
Shortly after we got here, my uncle molested me. And after that happened, I just broke. I didn't have anything left inside of me. I began cutting my wrists and making myself throw up every time I ate. I tried to kill myself. I began drinking and smoking and doing drugs. I began sleeping around in hopes of finding someone to love me. I was a broken person. That was all before I was a junior in high school. It took me a very long time to even kind of deal with everything that happened. And then it took me a long time to try to be okay with how I tried to cope, because no one wants to be the slutty teenage girl who slits her wrist and does drugs and drinks and whatever else. But eventually, I began to get better. Life kind of started to feel normal. Bad things stopped happening, and I started to think that life would be okay. And then my mom died. And somehow I became this broken girl all over again.
Okay, I know you're listening and you're thinking, oh my goodness, this poor girl. There's another thing that's happening to her. Liz, you said that there would be beauty in the journey soon. There is, I promise, and it's coming next. Talk about a resilient life. This girl has seen it all. She's been through it all, and she is an overcomer, you guys. I can't wait until you hear this next clip where she talks about all the things that she is able to do now as an adult, how she's healed from her journey, and all the statistics that she's broken. She's pretty awesome. Here's the next clip.
But despite everything, I made it. I finished high school, barely. I fought my way through college and graduated, and then I got this amazing job. And now I'm just trying to keep surviving, because even though I've made it this far, I still have a long way to go. And in time, this too shall pass. That quote, it holds a lot of meaning to me because of just how true it is. The bad, even if it's really freaking awful, will eventually pass. One way or another, it won't stay that way forever. It makes me think of a quote from Grey's Anatomy. It goes, "That's how you stay alive. When it hurts so much you can't breathe, that's how you survive. By remembering that one day, somehow, it won't feel this way."
Did you guys just hear that? How awesome is that? When I say overcomer, I mean it, because to be able to be a functioning adult today who not only graduated from high school, graduated from college, now has her own full-time job that she loves, by the way, but she says that her story is not done yet. She is still alive because she still has so much to share and so much to give to this world. I am so proud of her. She's going to go into her life mantra, and I know you heard it in the beginning. It's, and in time, this too shall pass. That pretty much sums up her whole life. What a powerful life mantra, and I'm a huge Grey's Anatomy fan, so I appreciate that quote coming from that movie What an amazing life mantra. And I'm a huge Grey's Anatomy fan, so I definitely appreciate the quote that came from that TV show. Now she's going to be asked how she found the beauty in her journey and what that looks like today. Here's what she had to say.
I feel like I'm in a moment in my life where I'm waiting to know what to do next. I'm waiting for God to move me where He wants me. I'm waiting to find whatever it is that is going to make me feel whole and make my life feel complete. I'm waiting for that one thing, that one moment where I think, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for. This was why I had to go through everything that I did, because it brought me here to this. I have to believe that that's out there for me somewhere. That's tough. In this short interview, I have rushed over pieces of my life. To go through the moments and the details and to tell my story in full is something that I really want to do. I've started trying to do, but I haven't yet been able to finish. I want my stories to reach others, so people who are maybe going through something similar or have been through something similar know that they have the strength to get through it. Too often, I think kids in these horrible situations become victims of their own circumstances, and I know because I was too. At that time in my life when I was drinking and doing drugs and being promiscuous, that was me being a victim of my circumstance, and it would have been so easy to stay on that path.
Okay, before we wrap up with Sabrina, I want to do a little call to action. First, I want to call to action every single one of you and let you know that Child Protective Services finds evidence for a claim of child abuse every 8 minutes. That is a crazy statistic. Every 8 minutes this is happening. Next, I want to do a call to attention for parents. Children believe what their parents tell them, you guys. So if you are a parent and you are pouring into a child, just know that the things that you say And the things that you do, they are listening to and they are watching. If you're telling your kid that they disgust you, then they're going to start believing that about themselves. If you're telling them that they're a failure, they're going to start believing that. If you're telling them that they're stupid or you wish they were never born, number one, those are all forms of abuse. Don't tell them things that are going to break them. They are going to become them. They are going to believe them. And that stems into all different other forms of child abuse as well. Please stop the cycle now. Please get yourself under control and know that you have children that love you and that need you and that deserve the best version of you. And last but not least, I want to do a call to attention to the abused. Anybody who has been a victim of child abuse or otherwise, you can break this cycle. You choose. That was the word that Sabrina used. This is a choice. You have a choice to live a better life and to let your circumstances not be something you're a victim to. Let your circumstance be a reason for you to succeed, a reason for you to find the beauty in your journey so that you can impact other people and you can be there for them. I'm going to have Sabrina close us out now.
To drop out of high school, to continue living a life in trouble with the cops and whatever else. But I didn't do that. I made the choice that that was not the life I was going to live, that I could have better, but that it was only up to me to get myself there. And now here I am. So if anyone takes something from the story, I guess I would want it to be to fight. Fight against the things that are trying to drag you down. Fight against the odds. Fight against the pain and the brokenness. Just fight and don't ever stop. It will be so worth it in the end.
Thank you for joining my guest, Sabrina Kinsey, and I for today's episode of Motivational Mantras. This show is presented by Public House Media, where we all have a voice. You can follow the network on Facebook and Twitter. I'm so humbled that you tuned in today to hear one of the many testimonies that will be shared on this podcast. I hope you are learning to find the beauty in your journey and continue tuning in so we can grow together each week. You can find both of my podcasts each week, Monday mornings for the show The Morning Uplift and on Friday mornings for Motivational Mantras. Please feel free to contact me at any time. Whether you have been somebody who has been abused and you have comments or feedback from today's show, or if you're interested in having a show or being on my show in the future, please contact me at lizcolburnbb@gmail.com. I love to hear from my listeners. May God watch over you throughout your week and may your light shine for all to see.